It's about rumination. Rumination is, in essence, a scientific term for spinning thoughts, thinking, worry, things like that. We all ruminate, and I don't think there's much use to rumination, in all honesty. Of course, we need to experience negative emotions to notice danger in the environment and step away from pain impulses and notice pain impulses about to happen. So negative emotions are really good, but rumination is sort of like taking that negative emotion and keep spinning it. You could call it a thought loop or something like that. And so I want you to just have a moment of reflection, right? When you're having those negative spinning thoughts, is that about the past? That you sort of like sit there and you spin these thought loops over and over about your past. So you could sort of like think about something that happened to you in your childhood a long time ago, and you sit there and you get pissy about it. Can't believe that this person has done that to me, or I can't believe that I've done that, or that's one way of ruminating. And you spin that over and over. Now you can see how that is completely useless, right? Because it's over. If you're a grown adult and you're sitting there spinning thoughts about something that happened in childhood, I really suggest that you do something about that. Because well, first of all, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And you either if you're in sort of ill-being, then, or have mental illness issues around this, then I would recommend that you really go see a therapist if you're an adult, because your childhood is a while ago. So there needs to be then some solution, because you've maybe been spinning these thoughts for a very long time. And you need a professional to help you out. And that's if you're in ill-being or you have mental illness. If you're not sure if you have a mental illness or not, then you need to see someone who can evaluate that. But let's just say you're a normal person, in a sense, meaning that you're not mentally ill and you're not completely unhappy in ill-being, then I think that a lot of people still would go to a therapist, which I think is nonsense. You don't need to go to a therapist if there's nothing really wrong with you, that you have a normal amount of rumination. And you're like, and that's why people don't go to therapy, because they believe that they don't belong there. They have no issues, no stigmas with it. I don't think there's a lot of stigma involved these days anymore to go see a therapist in most locations and contexts in the world. But I do believe that a lot of people like, the therapist, that's for me because I'm not mentally ill and I'm not super in ill-being. I'm just not getting the best out of life thought. Then I think that those people shouldn't be going to a therapist. They need to go to a training. Because what that means to me is that you don't know how to change your brain. I think that the mindset hacks have offered a lot. But the mindset hacks are oftentimes not really about the past. I think that NLP is actually ideal for that. To sort of like, if you don't know how to use your brain in order to get away from this childhood or this event 5 years ago, if you don't know how to do that, if your parents never taught you how to use your brain so you don't have to get stuck there, and most of us, by the way, don't, then I think it's time for a training course. And by the way, you may want to check out courses.forpositive.com or courses.globalnlptraining.com, because these mindset hacks type positive psychology things, plus the tools really to get away from that issues of rumination in the past, present, and about the future, is really inside of the courses that I give online. We're not live yet, though. If you're interested in a pre-sale discount, just pop me a message and I'll give it to you. In any case, that's ruminating about the past. Some people ruminate about the present. I'm one of those. How does that then display? So for me, when I ruminate, I know my patterns pretty well, is I'm tired or hormonal, or I'm experiencing a pain impulse, a negative emotion, and especially when I'm tired, that can sort of cause a rumination to start. It's almost like the resilience immune system that I have inside my brain is not as powerful as it usually is, because I'm usually really optimistic and don't really get stuck with these sticky thoughts, and I meditate too next to NLP. And so the rumination then is that someone hurts me or violates my values, right? And the unconscious foundation that I stand on, sort of like personal rules, and my emotion is sort of like hurt. Then I start ruminating, and the rumination then is that thoughts that I then spin is about, I can't believe that you've done this. Why are you talking to me in this way? Can't believe. So it's sort of, I kind of spin it. Sometimes the reality testing is quite off, or I'm using my own perspective. And I actually use NLP to straighten that out. I don't think the answers are so much in positive psychology to straighten that out. However, I think the long-term solution has a lot of scientific research, but I'll get into that mindset hack in a moment, because that's what today's mindset hack is about. Some people ruminate about the future, and then that causes a sense of anxiety because they're worried about something happening, or they in their mind they think that something will go wrong even though they have no evidence. And often you become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You in essence think about this is going to go wrong, and then it's just going to go wrong. If I think that this video is going to be me stumbling, not knowing what to say before I start taping it, then I probably get a negative emotion before I start taping it. And that makes me nervous, and then I probably would indeed start stuttering and melting down on a video. So I've created my own emotional soup for that outcome to then be based on a soup that went bad. Does that make sense? So I want you to have a brief moment before I reveal the mindset hack. I want you to have a brief thought about, where do you ruminate? Or do you ruminate about the past, present, and the future, like you have rumination everywhere? If you have rumination on everything and everywhere, and you have it like a lot, and with a lot, that's subjective. I don't know what's a lot to you. A lot for me is the moment that you start to feel that you're not, when you're by yourself or you're in a space, that your well-being is not really as high as you'd like it to be. For instance, right now I'm in a desert. Everybody is sleeping still. I'm completely and fully safe. Could use a coffee. I had some instant coffee because I have to make coffee by hand here in a Chemex, so I start on instant coffee. It's got to stop because I have to tape at sunrise. So any minute is one that I can still lie in bed, so I get up at 4:45. I'm so happy when I can stop this schedule, by the way. And so what's your pattern? And what is then too much rumination? Well, too much rumination is where in your day the ratio of positive and negative emotion is less than 3-to-1. So meaning you have not enough positive emotions, too much negative emotions. And if you care about optimal performance, which I would, it needs to be 80-20. So if your rumination is causing that positivity negativity ratio, and for optimal performance ratio is not in line because you're ruminating anytime that you're by yourself, then I can understand that this pandemic has been really tough on you. And I hate to break it to you, if you think that relates to your sucky life, that's not what science is. That's not what science is. In fact, pretty sure that inside my NLP training, immersion classes, all over the world that there have been people that have had far worse life than yours. I know I have had people in class that have been through several wars and violated inside of them. People that had horrible childhoods, everyday, extreme physical, sexual danger and pain. So if that's not you, with all respect, this is what science is. In terms of our happiness set points, it's about 40% is indeed genetically determined. And that doesn't mean that it's 100% depression. No, you're already a mix from your parents. But there is a possibility for you to ruminate and get depression that could be genetically determined, and your parents taught you, how to use your brain. So you learn a lot through imitation. It is actually proven that approximately 15%, some people say 10, some people say 20, but that's rare. Usually 10-15% is about life circumstance or happiness set point. Scientifically proven. And the rest of it is within our control. So we're dealing with 40% of more is within our control if we knew how to use our brain. That's why taking NLP training, positive mindset hacks, that's why it's so important, because we need to learn how these things if we didn't learn how to do it from our parents. And in that sense, your rumination and the amount of rumination, so the amount of times that you do it, causing this ratio of positive versus negative to go off track, but also the intensity of the negative emotional response during your rumination. You see, for mine, they're generally not that big. They can if my feelings are hurt by a loved one, but what's the intensity between 1 and 10 of the emotional response that your rumination causes? So it's important. So the amount of time, the intensity of the feeling, and what is it? Past, present, or future? Are there themes? Are there multiple themes? That's where you need to start getting to work. Now, I have a mindset hack right now. So what's the solution here? Well, the solution I'm going to offer you is really good in the moment. When you're doing it, you catch yourself and you want to stop doing it. But it's also, if you do it every day, then your brain, if it's wired to turn rumination on, is to actually start retraining the brain to not do that, which means that you need to have a brain that can process emotions better, right? And so that you can not pretend that the emotions aren't there, but to be able to sit with the emotion, process the emotion, yet not ruminating on it or making it worse by spinning the thoughts and making it worse than it actually was. And the answer really is mindfulness. So I'm going to give you a simple mindfulness technique that you could do in a moment, but you can also do every day if this rumination is a real issue for you. And it's only 3 to 5 minutes, so I'm not talking about like you need to sell your first child to me or give up your first child to me. No, this is 3 to 5 minutes. So think about how rumination is affecting your life. And if it is affecting your life, then would 3 to 5 minutes sort of be a good investment there? I would say probably yes. I mean, you probably spend more than 5 minutes ruminating anyway a day. Okay, very simple technique. And it's the Nikki way of doing mindfulness, which is not my way. I'm just taking the science of mindfulness, but I'm teaching it to you, sort of like marking very clearly without changing the techniques. I'm telling you, here's it debunked. Here's it sort of like in a way that it's palatable because it doesn't have to come with hippie clothes and veganism, right? So I'm going to give it to you a little scientifically, let's say. So very first, you close your eyes if you can, or stare into space. And you scan your body from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. And you kind of like get a sense as to what's happening on the inside of you. And to sort of like, is my stomach tight? Is my chest tight? Do I feel a pressure somewhere? Is a part of my body in awareness, out of awareness? So in essence, what you're doing is to kind of scan inside the body. If you would name your emotion, how does that emotion then display inside the body? Yeah. You could name the emotion. I mean, when you're done, like, well, what is this emotion? That creates emotional self-awareness. That's one of the elements of emotional intelligence, right? To know what you're feeling. And so that's one. So you scan top of head down to toes, what's going on the inside. When you've done that, you spend the rest of the 3 to 5 minutes, just sit there, observe your breathing. You don't need to breathe special. Well, you could, but I want to make it simple for you. Just observe your breathing and sit with it. And you can set your alarm 3 to 5 minutes. And there's a few benefits to this. Other than mindfulness, it's also a distraction. Distraction has been found to be a really good measure to stop rumination. And so that's it for today. Check out courses.globalnlptraining.com or go to forpositive.com. And there is tomorrow, I'm back here, Mindset Hack, 9 o'clock Los Angeles time, noon Miami, 6 p.m. in Amsterdam, and midnight on Bali. And those are our NLP training destinations. See you tomorrow.